dear people of Ambazonia, fellow brave warriors of our liberation movement. Accept liberation greetings from me, Kamarijana Kuro, this day. Today is Wednesday, August 2025. I want to begin this broadcast by apologizing for yesterday. I actually promised I was going to come back on set yesterday, but for some technical reasons, that was not possible. And so today we're going to make sure that we catch up. This morning's broadcast will be different from the broadcast that will come later on in the evening, where we will continue to do a lot of analysis on the things that are ongoing in Ambazonia and, of course, with our noisy neighbors who are living actually up to their billing. We expected them to act the way they are acting, and they are acting exactly, how we would have loved them to act, because this is exactly who they are. This is this is the chaos that we have known about them for 60 years. This is the dishonesty, the disorder that characterizes La Republique du Cameroun's daily life. And you see for yourselves, my people of Ambazonia, I've spent time on this set, like preaching to the wilderness, trying to make the people of the southern Cameroons to understand that there is no way you can ever expect to tap palm wine from tap. Expecting Cameroon to change, expecting the system in Cameroon to suddenly one good morning become, a system that respects the rule of law, become a system that believes in human rights, become a system that believes in letting the people's voices be heard, then you must be daydreaming. The rule of law does not exist in La Republique du Cameroun. The law is a Tanga Ponji. The law is according to Ferdinand Gongo. Paul Biya is the law. That's what it is in that country. And that society will never change. You can see it decaying to levels never before seen. But the appetite for change, the appetite for a good life for the majorities of the people is yet to exist in that entity. This is not what our people want. This is not what our people deserve. This is not where we wanted to be. This is not where our forebears expected they were taking us in 1961. This is why my people, I say by day and by night, that the only way we come out of this shit in which we find ourselves is fight like hell. Because the people of La Republique du Cameroun have demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt that they don't see yet that they really have to stand up and fight for themselves. You see what is happening now? In the past, they would have been afraid, they would have been saying, hey, qu'est-ce que Bamenda va dire? Will Bamenda accept this? Hey, what will happen in Kumba? Hey, what will happen in Boya? But today, we're observing them. We have told them you are on your own. Take your own destiny into your hands. We're no longer there to sacrifice our lives, to sacrifice our property, to sacrifice our well-being, to guarantee for them a good life. That is why the conditions are getting worse by the day. Now, the level of government lawlessness has reached proportions never before seen. Now, the level of government arrogance has reached proportions never before seen. Now, the level of government's dehumanization of even citizens has attained proportions that no one could ever think we will see in our lifetime. But this is happening in La Republique du Cameroun. And so those among us who have kept some useless, stupid dream alive, a dream of a federal system where we continue to operate with the people who don't show any inkling of understanding what modernism is all about, any inkling of understanding what it means to fight in the interest of the general population, of the general masses, people who don't understand what it means to take what belongs to them. They have decided on a daily basis, year after year, that they want to remain the last man standing in the French Empire in Africa. La République du Cameroun will remain a province of France right up to the 5th millennium. from the look of things. They will never reign free from France. And because they will never reign free from France, any association between La République du Cameroun and the people of the Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonia, will mean that indirectly we will continue to have the French dictating the quality of air we breathe, dictating the kind of food we eat, dictating whether we have good roads or not, dictating whether we have a good communication system. You can't call somebody back home to communicate for 2 minutes only. The network is the most useless. Not only is the network useless, it is the most expensive country in Africa to communicate with. These are things we are conversant with. And I'm sure that we are all seeing that the ballot box will never bring any change in La République du Cameroun. Therefore, the people of the Southern Cameroons should stop hoping against hope. Those misguided people, when I say the people, I mean those misguided people in the Southern Cameroons that keep telling us, oh, you see, when you go for elections, when you go and do this, someone like Agbobala made a lot of noise getting into some rubbish called the Grand National Dialogue. Ended up leaving from there crying and moved away from there with a tail between his legs with some nonsense called special status. Until today, none of them, neither him nor Munzu, nor all of those who went there making noise about special status, can tell us where special status is today. This is exactly what it is. That waste of time doesn't help us. We need to continue to put ourselves together to do what is required to be done to make sure we take back our country and stop this distraction. So let's make a quick passage through our noisy neighbors. This is not the consistent package. That will be later on in the evening when we'll have a more sustained and a more robust analysis. But at this point, I just wanted to take snippets and we settle onto a very delicate phenomenon that is going on in the Southern Cameroons that I've talked about so seriously, but sometimes we have paid little attention. So this is the image that you see. You see, this is Aristide Mono. Aristide Mono, of course, is an indigene of the Bulu Ekambeti clan. But you see, they themselves are beginning to see that this is exaggerated, that this is an exaggeration. This is the image that you see here today. He says, Atangana, avocat de l'Ekam, Adi a Atangana. Le président du Conseil constitutionnel, n'ayez pas peur, n'ayons pas peur. Le peuple ne nous fera rien. N'ayez pas pitié de Kamto. What is he saying here? That Atangana, because the lawyer of Elekam is called Atangana. Of course, the same people from the same clan, from the same Bulu Ekambeti clan. That's the lawyer of Elekam who went to defend the electoral board's decision sidelining Maurice Kamto from running for the presidential election. So Atangana, the lawyer of Elekam, tells Atangana Clement, the chairman of the Constitutional Council, don't be afraid. Let us not be afraid. The people are not going to do us anything. The people ain't going to do jack. No, don't have any pity on Maurice Kamto. Don't reinstate his candidature. There is nothing that they can do. So Atangana told Atangana this, and Atangana responded to Atangana by saying, may it be according unto your word. And then it came to pass. And this is how Maurice Kamto and Anise Ekane left the Constitutional Council, dejected, frustrated, carried away by total unbelief. In fact, I guess they're asking themselves, are we dreaming? Or this is real? Because with all the facts presented before the Constitutional Council, no one expected this kind of decision to be rendered. But don't forget, 2 days back, this gentleman in Paris, in France, J. Reningono, had published on Facebook that it was bad news for Maurice Kamto at the Constitutional Council. And what Reningono said was that someone called him and confirmed to him that the decision had been taken at Etudi at a small restricted meeting with Atanganji, Chantal Bia, Ngongo, and all of those, including Atangana Clement, that the fate of Maurice Kamto must be sealed, that they must not be seen to board. And then, of course, he said, it was also confirmed Bidjan à gauche, Bidjan à droite. They call Bidjan à gauche, Bidjan à droite, to Bruno Bidjan of Television Mille Collines in Yaounde. I don't want to say Vision 4, Television Mille Collines. And so therefore, getting to this session yesterday, it was just opening the playbook or the difference, that is making sure, because this thing started on Monday and then ended yesterday. That was just the public drama that usually is displayed, and at the end of the day, they stay exactly where they are. So this is the gang. This gang, you should never expect anything from this gang. The president of La Republique du Cameroun, Paul Biya, now governing through Ferdinand Ngongo and Chantal Biya, of course, are the ones who appoint the magistrates, the ones who manage their careers, the one who appointed every single member of the Constitutional Council, who are all members of the CPDM party, share of Professor Paul Nchoji Nkui, who, emanates also from a proxy of the CPDM party, that is the SDF party, because the SDF party now more or less is a proxy of the CPDM party. And of course, when you see this gang, nothing good could come out of them. Absolutely nothing. And then just to make you to understand that this whole gang up had been prepared and was in place and everything was certain, and they needed to be preparing the minds of the people. That's why you will find provocateurs like Eric Matthias Owonangini. I have to say this. There was a time I honestly almost deceived myself that Eric Matthias Owonangini, that almost convinced myself, like seriously, that Eric Matthias Owonangini was a force for change, was an objective force. But, and I recall sitting with Eric Matthias Owonangini at a panel where we did presentations and we did a lot of exchanges, we did debates together at an SDF anniversary session in Bamenda, where they invited the press, people from the international community, Socialist International, and all of those who came as neutral participants. I recall them thinking that Eric Matthias Owonangini was a very neutral mind, an objective mind, and the like. But of course, it was a decoy, because his father was in bad shape. Professor Joseph Owona, late, who should be rotting in hell, was in bad shape, was not in government. And so the son needed to be making some noise, to be shaking the waters, to be troubling the waters, so that the system should call the father back and say, please call your son to order and give him something. And that's how Professor Joseph Owona, while he lived, was called and made member of the Constitutional Council. And when he was made member of the Constitutional Council, Eric Matthias Owonangini started talking with, two sides of his mouth, until he himself got appointed in SWA at the University of Yaounde too. So when you listen to Eric Matthias Owonangini in this clip, you understand that it was something completely cooked up, and they had said, no matter the public outcry, they were not going to budge. Listen.
Du parti. Chaque fois qu'un président de parti, un président n'est pas un simple militant, démissionne, le parti doit informer le gouverneur du ressort territorial de son siège national, quitte à ce que ce gouverneur donc notifie cette information au ministre de l'administration territoriale.
Il a 15 jours.
Je résume. Il n'y a aucune condition, je dis bien aucune condition de conformité, aucune, dans le dossier du professeur Maurice Kamto. Que ça concerne les statuts du Manidem, version Ekané, il y a des conditions pour investir un candidat qui sont prévues par le règlement intérieur.
I don't want to take a lot of our time to go interpreting what he's saying, sentence after sentence, but the gibberish that you hear Matthias Eric Owonangini claiming here is he's trying to invent the laws according to Eric Matthias Owonangini and trying to defend the position of Elekam and of course the position of Atangana Ponji, aka Moulinex, or Serpent Afame, and all of that, all of the gibberish they're talking, they're trying to quote all their texts. If Kamto resigned from the MRC party, he ought to have notified the Minister of Territorial Administration within a certain number of days. He ought to notify the governor. He ought to do this. And so per him, none of the conditions that ought to have been met were met. And so therefore, for that reason, Kamto should simply have been set aside, even right from the point go, and not given any consideration. He is even there darting into the internal rules and regulations of the Manidem, although he is not a party to that political party. Of course, let's just wrap up here. I want you to get the most important part of him, and we get the heck out of there.
Et n'ont pas été respectés. Allez voir l'article 89 du règlement intérieur. Allez voir l'article 7 des statuts du Manidem. Donc, même dans ce cas, même en dehors de la candidature de M. Yebga, la candidature de M. Kamto est viciée de toutes les manières. On n'a donc pas à imposer aux Camerounais, sous prétexte de menace, quelque candidature que ce soit. Et je finis.
Did you hear what he said? That they don't have to impose on Cameroonians any candidature whatsoever it is. So this tells you still that they are telling you that there is external influence involved in that election. You see, before we learned that the Bulu Ekambeti clan was complaining that France was trying to put pressure on the Republique du Cameroun to make sure they reinstate the candidature of Maurice Kamto. The same clan claimed that the United States was also involved in that pressure campaign. And now when you hear him talk here, you have the feeling that, oh, these are people who are so pro-independentists and all of that. But everything that happens there is pro-France. But the thing that you need to understand here, and for the Bamileke folks to understand, is that Eric Matthias Owonangini, the son of the late Professor Joseph Owona, who said, un Bamileke a étudié jamais, is simply here taking over from his father in the position that his father held, that everything had to be done to ensure that the Bamilekes never go closer to power in the Republique du Cameroun. That is why they will tell you, oh, they validated the candidature of the man, is it a UFC of the gentleman from Bafang? His name is living in my memory. They also say, oh, they validated the candidature of Tumaino Ndamjoya. Those are lightweights, featherweights, and they know those are going nowhere. But they saw Maurice Kamto's candidature as lethal, too threatening, that they told themselves giving him a chance to run could lead to that situation where the votes for him become so overwhelming that it becomes difficult for them to do what they always know how to do best. And that is why they had to do everything. First, do not forget, they had to violate the law by simply extending the mandates of members of parliament and municipal councillors. For what reason? Because they did not want that election to happen before the presidential election. That election had to happen before the presidential election. And they told themselves, if that election happened and Maurice Kamto went to compete and ended up with some MPs and the councillors, they will no longer be able to make sure he is not candidate for the presidential election. So for that reason, they decided to, by presidential decree, extend the mandate of parliamentarians and municipal councillors. By that token, killing the election to make sure Maurice Kamto had no chance with his MRC party to be in conformity with their very archaic laws. So those they are calling members of parliament are simply appointed by decree. And so therefore, after that, they now had to put all kinds of roadblocks. But when Maurice Kamto managed to have an avenue to put in his candidature, they now had to be simply blatant. Hear him again.
Comme M. Kamto et Kane ont utilisé la pyro, ils ont dit non mais qu'erreur. Et je leur répète, oui, c'est-à-dire le professeur Maurice Kamto, don't fall for Chucky. You cherche, you trouve. You trouve, you support. Good nasik.
So you can imagine, this is a university professor in La Republique du Cameroun talking in this fashion. These are things we saw in Rwanda before Rwanda descended into hell. My people of Ambazonia, this looks like you're asking yourself, is it in the third millennium where we are? Or where are we? This is worse than a banana republic. And I reiterate all the time, we never had to belong here. We never had to be part of this kind of setup. How we found ourselves here is difficult to tell. But we have a chance, a veritable chance, to correct the errors of the past, to make sure we kick these people in the ass, get them out of our territory, and restore the soul of our land. You recall I said this when Elekam rendered its results. I said this. I said they were testing the waters. They wanted to see what the pro-Kamto people will do. They wanted to see what the reaction of the Kamto militants at that first stage. The reason was simple. If the people occupied the streets and will be daring in the streets from 1st to 31st, not living and making life impossible, then there will be a change of plan. They will reinstate Maurice Kamto's candidature at the level of the Constitutional Council. But if the people went to sleep, hoping that, okay, no, let's wait again, we have another chance with the Constitutional Council, they will take advantage of that and seal the fate and tell the people, go to hell. Because they would have tested the waters and seen that the people are noisemakers. That is why this one. So you see for yourself that these lackluster demonstrations in front of the Constitutional Council on Monday, while they were already deliberating, while they had already taken the pause and concluded that there was nothing to fear, nothing to worry about as far as Kamto is concerned, that they were quietly eliminating Kamto and all of those, they just had to move ahead and do exactly what they had on their plan. That is why, late yesterday, the Atanganji clan, the clan of Ferdinand Gombo and others, the Bulu Ekambeti clan, came up with this and said, it is done. Maurice Kamto is in Atanga Ponji's Moulinex. That's what it is. And because they are saying that, in effect, they are not expecting anything to happen. They are not expecting anything to happen. Like I said, folks, this is again just a teaser because we will be coming back. Don't forget when you listen, always take note of the things that I said. Because I pointed out when Elekam rendered its verdict that this thing that they were doing, they were testing the waters. They wanted to see the reactions of the people. And of course, the people lived up to expectations. And what were the expectations? That they will do nothing, they will go sleep in the bars and saying, we will wait for the Constitutional Council. Can anybody recall the last time that a cockroach ever got declared innocent in a gathering of fowls? Can anybody recall? Because to the best of my knowledge, the African proverb that a cockroach can never be declared innocent in a gathering of fowls has been tested over time, over the centuries, and it stands. So therefore, Maurice Kamto going to the Constitutional Council, knowing that all the members are appointed by the same regime that appointed all the members of the electoral board of Elekam, what was he expecting? What were the people expecting? Oh, that suddenly Sangobinatans, that's angels of Satan, will become angels of God? Come on now, give me a break. I am saying this not to say it's over, because La Republique du Cameroun by day and by night is becoming that powder magazine that we were expecting. You see, actions like these ones that we have seen make this kind of preparations the more important. Watch.
D'où viennent ce matériel et effets militaires et à quoi vont-ils servir? Des questions qui taraudent les esprits de ces responsables au rang desquels le gouverneur de l'extrême nord, Midiao Bakari, venu s'enquérir de cette découverte de la police judiciaire de l'extrême nord, ici au quartier Palar, dans le premier arrondissement de la ville de Maroua. Un trafic inadmissible dans une région où les forces de défense et de sécurité restent mobilisées pour la pacifier.
Ce matériel peut équiper facilement des contingents, avait même des tissus de réserve. Donc, et ça s'est fait.
So what you are seeing there are war weapons, military paraphernalia. What you are seeing there, it has everything that is required to destabilize a system. And you get a description that they are giving there that tell you that the material is so important that it could equip an entire battalion and there will even be leftovers. We are here in the far north region of La Republique du Cameroun. We have seen caches of weapons discovered in the center, in the south, in the littoral. There are weapons everywhere in La Republique du Cameroun. Stockpiles of weapons. Where they are now, they are joking. Because the Magma is building. They may think that our doing Kamto could resolve their problem. Just the start. I had the opportunity 2 days ago to be talking to a soldier of La Republique du Cameroun who has just absconded. He is somewhere in a nearby country. There were about 6 of them. They just escaped. They just abandoned. They just eloped. They just cut the air. And he was explaining to me what is happening in the far north. He said at this point in time, they don't have adequate weapons anymore. At this point in time, Boko Haram has everything. I mean, they have extremely sophisticated weapons, including drones. And that Boko Haram is now using drones to localize them. That makes it impossible for them to escape attacks. That makes it easy for Boko Haram to get at them. And their fear was if the same technology is exported to southern Cameroons, the drone technology, the same technology exported to other parts of the Republique du Cameroun where people are actively preparing to take down a system that has become extremely moribund, then the country is completely finished. And they are lobbying because they noticed that they had simply become sacrificial lambs. Because he said the number of soldiers of the Republique du Cameroun dying in the far north to Boko Haram is so alarming. But unfortunately, they are saying nothing about it. I say they have run practically out of equipment, practically out of military hardware. This is a reality. And this is information. Very vital information, as you can understand. Let's take a 30 seconds break and then we can wrap up the show with this very heart-wrenching news from the southern Cameroons, especially in Meme County of the southern zones of Ambazonia. You're welcome back, folks. Thank you to our people from Manu County with this very beautiful number. Welcome back. Folks, take a look at this document or at this screenshot. That screenshot is, I took it from Facebook. And as you can see, that is on the Facebook page of Nzuimanto. What Nzuimanto is telling you an idea is very grave. Very grave because this is something I have spoken about. This is something I have shouted about to proportions that sometimes our people have really not paid attention to. Nzuimanto is talking here about a phenomenon that is going on all over the southern Cameroons. The government-sponsored ring, the La Republique du Cameroun government-sponsored ring of kidnapping for ransom, commandeered by the colonial forces of La Republique du Cameroun. In the past, this was simply said, oh, they were there, but today, there are names and faces that are now clearly attached to it. And it's not from me. It's from a citizen of La Republique du Cameroun. And this citizen of La Republique du Cameroun is getting a report from a soldier of La Republique du Cameroun who has gotten so horrified by the practice, generally assigned, attributed to unknown gunmen, that money can unknown gunmen or to amber boys, as they would say. Even in areas where they tell you that they have eradicated amber, as they call it, in those areas you see here kidnapping for ransom is going on very terribly. And I've always asked, who then is the author of it if you say it's amber and you have wiped out amber in those localities? So this is it. And Zuimanto, as publisher saying, this man said, bonsoir monsieur Zuimanto. Je suis un homme en tenue en service à Kumba. Je viens d'écrire pour dénoncer une situation inadmissible où le commissaire divisionnaire Mbode Charles, commissaire central de Kumba, et son bandit de la BAG OP2 Ledjogi et le commandant de compagnie, capitaine Sokane, et ses collaborateurs, adjudant-chef Baemi, et le commissaire de brigade de Mabanda, adjudant-chef Mpondo, tous de connivence avec les kidnappers et anarcheurs dans la ville, se partagent le butin. Did you hear that? So he's saying, this soldier is talking, he's giving names of people here who are involved in, who are the people coordinating, maintaining the rings of kidnapping for ransom in Meme, in Kumba. Soldiers of la Republique du Cameroun, the same people that they claim they sent to come protect a population. So you hear the names here are clear because now they're not just talking it, that there is the suspicion. I have their faces here I'm going to show in a jiffy. But their names are right here. Commissaire divisionnaire Mbode Shao. Look, folks, this is Commissaire divisionnaire Mbode Shao. He is a commissaire central in Kumba. He is in charge of the central police station in Kumba. He is at the helm of the kidnapping for ransom ring in Kumba. I told you before, and I'm reiterating it. This is who they are. This is who they have been. They are all over our territory. All over. This kidnapping for ransom ring is their main activity as we speak. That's why you see a lot of them who are coordinating these activities are building mansions. Some are building three houses at the same time, being money from kidnapping for ransom. They organize armed bandits that they bring out of jails. They take boys who were initially fighting for freedom and take them to the so-called DDR centers and start smuggling them out of the so-called DDR centers and using them to do kidnapping for ransom. Because of course they speak English, they are our people. I mean, they were previously fighting for us. They can easily put the face of being amber boys, and now they use them. The operational mode has always been very clear. In collaboration with members of the CPDM crime syndicate, Atanga Ponji, Fu Jonathan Mujingni, for Tabe Tando, like I keep saying this, for Tabe Tando, a good lot of them, and all of those who call themselves chiefs there in Boya, Kumba, and all of those. Some of the funds, they put themselves together. They work with these forces from these evil forces, these occupational forces from the Republique du Cameroun. They identify families of individuals that they say are based in the diaspora, that their representatives here in the diaspora who have infiltrated our ranks, give them information as to who is a major contributor to the liberation movement, as to who is contributing a lot of money to finance the liberation movement. They go, they identify your family members, they kidnap a very close person to that person, a very close family member to that person, and they ask for millions. And now, my dear friend, brother or sister based in the diaspora, they force you now to pay 5-10 million to free your family member. And you are paying this with tears in your eyes, thinking that you are paying it to the same freedom fighters who are supposed to be there fighting to free the land, who supposedly have not turned and are fighting their own. And you know what is guaranteed? Once you pay that money, you are out of the struggle. You become militantly against the struggle. I saw one of my brothers from Chicago the other day, right on the forum, referring to the whole struggle, saying the people have become bandits, have become thieves, they have become whatsoever. I say, yes, I can feel the bitterness. But this is what systems like the Republique du Cameroun do to people who are fighting for freedom. If you ever expected that this was going to be a walk in the park, that this was going to be some kind of romance between you and the Republique du Cameroun, you were definitely so mistaken. You should ask the people of Eritrea. You should ask the people of Timor-Leste, of East Timor. Ask them what happened. Ask the people of South Sudan. Those that you are fighting against to wrench your freedom from, they are nasty. Nasty. They will do everything, go to every length to make you turn against the very thing you are fighting for. That's what I want about this. I've been singing this since 2018, telling our people we have to be strong. You can't be chicken-hearted and you want to fight for freedom. You have to know you will be bruised. You will be tested. Your patience will be put to a serious test. Your tenacity will be questioned by actions that will be taken against you. That you continue to stand will demonstrate beyond reasonable doubt that you know what you are doing. That you are aware of the tactics of your opponent. Because by this kidnapping for ransom, they guaranteed themselves that they will send a lot of those who were major contributors out of the struggle. And not only out of the struggle, even turn some of them against the struggle. That's what they did to the band of the people in Chomba. Today, of course, they finally did put up a B structure in Chomba. And the people are paying the price. You can't get involved in a liberation movement if you don't take time to listen to the tactics of your opponent. If you don't take time to understand the way your opponent operates. If you don't take time to study the approach of your opponent. And if you have not told yourself that it is going to be messy, you have to know that. These are hard facts here. I am not the one who invented them. They are here. The names are being called. This other fellow you see, this is the commandant of the brigade of Mabanda, the Nkumba, Adjutant Chef Mpondo. That is a member of the kidnapping ring, the kidnapping for ransom ring in Kumba. They are there. They are still there. This other one is called Captain Sokane. He is the commandant of the company. That's the company commander. So you see here, the person who is overall in charge of the police, the brigade commander, the company commander, and of course, I'm getting to now, a warrant of an assistant superintendent of police, who are all supposed to be leading the troops, but they are the ones coordinating the kidnapping for ransom initiative or action in Meme. I'm telling you, a replica of this is going on in Bamenda. A replica of this is going on in Kumbo. A replica of this is going on in Boya. A replica of this. The replica are going on everywhere on our territory, wherever they are. Look, this is the other gentleman, Officer Lejo. That's the Officer Lejo. What is his other name? I guess I had his full name here. Lejo Guy. Officer Lejo Guy. Officer de police de deuxième grade. That's second grade assistant superintendent of police. Lejo Guy. So their names are there. These are their faces. So this is not something that is that's being hidden anymore. And this is coming from bloggers, citizens of la République du Cameroun. Because il sait, les populations de la ville de Kumba sont pris entre deux feux. La criminalité et le terrorisme dans la ville ont pris une ampleur terrible. So il sait, dès qu'on interpelle un terroriste ou criminel, ils sont immédiatement libérés par ces chefs qui nous empêchent de travailler. So did you hear that? So they say that's the population, the people of Kumba find themselves, in crosshairs of this evil system. And now when the soldiers say, when they go and arrest people, they say, oh, these are people who are terrorizing the people for ransom and all of those things, so-called. According to so-called Amber boys, the next minute, the people are set free back and they are back in the communities. And he goes on to say, he's saying there, Il sait, voici par exemple des échanges entre les criminels et ses forces de maintien de l'ordre. It's right there. C'est bon après-midi, comment tu vas? Je constate que trop de familiarité engendre le mépris. Nous étions entendus que nous aurons 20% ou au minimum 15% du montant perçu. Par exemple, sur 10 000, on aura 2 000. That's on every 10,000, they will have 2,000 because this is one of the people writing to one of the boys who was captured by, was a guy from the DDR who was captured by soldiers who were not involved and saw this message, these text messages in his phone sent by one of these people in the pictures I've just shown you, where he's saying, but it seems familiarity is bringing contempt, that we had agreed that this is how we'll be sharing, that anytime you collect money from the ransom, we will have 20% or at least 15%, meaning that's what you see that the figures are there. Apologies, I mean it's cut that you can't see them. It says on every 10,000 we should have 2,000, 100,000 we should have 20,000, 1 million we should have 200,000, 1.5 million we should have 300,000. So he said, depuis un temps tu ne respectes pas ces accords. That for a while now you appear to be, becoming overzealous, no longer respecting this agreement. My dear people of Ambazonia, this is what we are subjected to. This information was made public. You never heard any so-called parliamentarian or any so-called senator like Benamoki Charles, aka Ngaringa. I did not hear even Chief Atem Ebako, who at least once in a while is vocal, come out to condemn this kind of practice. No, not for Tabetando, of course, it's one of them. You will not hear from them. But this is what it is. This is what our people are subjected to. Don't get me wrong. And I want to establish this. Because this practice has been going on our territory, some misguided ones, they could be just about 10% or less of the entire kidnapping for ransom gang. Some misguided ones amongst our freedom fighters have definitely joined. Because some saw that perhaps this could be a source of finance and could claim they help them sustain themselves or to get material to fight and all of those things. The reason why from the civil society have been condemning this practice and condemning it and urging, and I will continue to urge, those who have decided to put their lives on the lines for our freedom, who are truly fighting for the freedom of Ambazonia, who are carrying weapons, to make sure they continue to carry out systematic checks in their midst to identify those misguided ones who have fallen to this evil practice of kidnapping for ransom and make sure they are carefully disciplined. They should be exposed, their faces seen, their names known. This is something that we can't condone. There should be absolutely what I call zero tolerance to such practices among those who say they are fighting for the freedom of the southern Cameroons of Ambazonia. Because you see the faces you will get always who come kidnapping your people to collect ransom will be familiar. And of course, they will say they are Amber boys. They were Amber boys. Before they surrendered into the DDR and then became instruments in the hands of an evil system to be conducting kidnapping for ransom. So that they will say it is actually the real freedom fighters doing this dirty job. I guess knowledge of this should make us develop a new form of determination to continue to stand for what we believe in, to continue to fight for our freedom. Those are the faces. These are the people behind the kidnapping for ransom ring in Meme. And as I said, you have their replicas all over Ambazonia. Before long, I guess, their faces too will be coming, and I will not hesitate to broadcast those faces here. These were first put out by Zuimanto, a blogger of La Republique du Cameroun. And these people were denounced by one of their elements who couldn't stomach it anymore. We will end this broadcast with this accolades to some of our people in the diaspora who are actually doing a marvelous job And I want to make this clear. We could disagree at some point on issues, disagree on approaches and all whatnot, but a good job is a good job. Something somebody is doing that is advancing the liberation movement must be appreciated to its just measure. That is why I'm very delighted and so proud. I say I'm so proud of the work being done, both in Washington, D.C., in New York, and others by Dr. Tita from Dallas, and Pastor Mba, who's also from Texas. Take a watch at this. I don't have any interpretation to give because the narration is simple, clear, concise, and the images speak for themselves.
In the heart of Brooklyn, amidst the colors, the music, and the celebration of Caribbean culture, a different kind of message is making its way through the crowd. They are Friends of Ambazonia, an American-based advocacy group shining a light in one of the world's most neglected humanitarian crises.
We are here today because our people are suffering in silence. The community in Ambazonia, the people in Ambazonia are being killed by the colonial regime of La Republique du Cameroun. We are here today, Nick, because our people are being slaughtered to death by the colonial military. The people of the former British Southern Cameroons, since 2017, have been on surge. The military breaks into homes, killing innocent civilians daily. We are here today to march for the innocent souls in Ambazonia, those that have been killed, those that have been slaughtered, the villages that have been burned down to ashes. Over 850 villages razed to ashes by the colonial military.
They're marching not just to be seen, but to be heard for the millions in former British Southern Cameroon, now identified as Ambazonia, whose voices are being silenced by war, displacement, and repression. Since 2017, an armed conflict between Cameroon's central government and its English-speaking regions has led to over 6,000 deaths, the displacement of more than 700,000 people, and the destruction of entire communities, according to international monitors.
We are extremely grateful for the work that Human Rights Watch is doing. Though the numbers seem very little, but we know that it's still significant. We will beg and we are pleading for Human Rights Watch to update their numbers, to give the recent total number of deaths and killings or the recent atrocities in the that have been committed in the territory, so to update the entire world, so everyone is updated, stay updated on what is currently happening on the ground.
But for Dr. Emmanuel Tita, these figures vastly underestimate the true scale of suffering. He argues that the actual death toll and displacement figures are far higher, pointing to mass graves, unreported killings, and entire villages erased without documentation.
The impact of the war on the innocent civilians of Ambazonia, the innocent civilians of the former British Southern Cameroons, as we know them, has been very drastic. About 65,000 people of our people have been killed. About 65,000 of the Ambazonia people have been killed in this war. Over 500,000 Ambazonians are suffering in refugee camps. Over 15,000 Ambazonians are locked up illegally in the colonial prisons all across Ambazonia and in neighboring La Republique du Cameroun colonial prisons. Over 1.5 million or 1.2 million have been out of school, and over 2.5 million have been internally and externally displaced. It's been a huge impact on our people. The people of Ambazonia are suffering.
But not by the diaspora. Here in New York, survivors and advocates have gathered to say enough is enough. The group's founder, Dr. Emmanuel Tita, is a pharmacist based in Florida. But to many in the Ambazonian movement, he represents something bigger, a diplomatic voice, a call for peace resistance, and a bridge to the international community.
The U.S. recognition of Ambazonia is very critical at this point in time. The people of Ambazonia, are an internationally recognized people with internationally recognized boundaries. They have their legal boundaries that are recognized internationally. And this war has been going on for a long time, and there's desperate need for us to have this humanitarian crisis come to an end. And President Trump is the right person. President Trump is the #1 person that is focused on resolving peace all over the world that could recognize Ambazonia now, and the people of Ambazonia can be free.
Dr. Tita and his team believe that the United States, and especially the Trump administration, must recognize this crisis for what it is: a driver of illegal migration, a threat to human rights, and a regional conflict with global implications.
Please, Mr. President, we know that the root causes of of illegal immigration is conflict. The people of the former British Southern Cameroons that are being killed on a daily basis need your help, Mr. President. Please, Mr. President Donald J. Trump, help recognize the people of Ambazonia as an independent nation to help resolve the conflict that is currently going on. Please, Mr. President, the people of Ambazonia need you.
Thousands of Ambazonians have fled to the U.S. seeking asylum from torture, persecution, and the loss of everything they once called home. The Friends of Ambazonia argue that resolving this conflict at Ituru through self-determination and international diplomacy aligns directly with America's goal of curbing unlawful immigration and global peace. For some here today, the message is also spiritual: a Christian nation under siege, a call to the American church and American conscience.
My message to the Christians all over America and the world is to say that we cannot sit quiet and allow a dictator in Cameroon commit a genocide on the people of Southern Cameroons and nobody is saying anything. I remember that it was a Christian body here in America that rose up against the genocide that was being committed on the people of South Sudan before America stood up to recognize South Sudan. So we are calling on the Christian body here in America and around the world to speak out and speak out to the genocidal regime of Yaounde that is committing a genocide on our people in Southern Cameroon.
Even those with no roots in Cameroon are standing in solidarity. These American participants say this isn't just a foreign problem. It's about standing with the vulnerable and about American values.
I'm marching with Friends of Ambazonia today because everyone deserves freedom and to go home without fear. It's a very fundamental belief of America to have that freedom without fear.
She reminds us that it is within America's power to support freedom, and that supporting Ambazonia means giving families the right to live safely in their homeland, not as refugees abroad. Their voices may have been pushed to the margins of international politics, but here in New York, they are front and center. From the streets of Brooklyn to the hills of West Africa, this is more than a parade. It's a plea of peace, for justice, and for a nation waiting to be recognized. I'm Johnny Fernandez, reporting with Friends of Ambazonia.
So, those, this is a very beautiful initiative, an awesome initiative there, and the group or the initiative being led by Dr. Tita and Reverend Dr. Victor Mba. They call it the Friends of Ambazonia, and you could see the myriad people that they got there to participate in this demonstration in the streets of New York, Brooklyn, and you could also see that you have other sympathizers who came to be part of this and actually volunteered to talk, to condemn what is going on, the ongoing genocide in the Southern Cameroons. My dear people of Ambazonia, we have read the pages of history. We hear they talk about great people. They call this person was a great one, that one was a great man, that one was a this and that. And these are people who fought, who sacrificed to give their peoples freedom, who sacrificed to earn better lives for their people, not only for themselves, but for generations upon generations to come. We are living even in countries too and enjoy freedoms that were achieved by people who fought so hard. Don't forget, this is why I will always remind our people that great people are ordinary people with an extraordinary amount of determination. Great people are just ordinary people. But the difference is that they had an extraordinary amount of determination. They remained tenacious where others gave up. They remained focused where others even laughed and mocked at them. They remained firm and continued to fight, even when they started telling them that they were a one-man army. In the end, they were always able to federate people or a coalition of the willing to cross into freedom land. This is what I expect for the people of Ambazonia. I'm delighted that you found time today to be part of this broadcast. Share the link as much as you can. We will end here. And as I said, much later in the evening today, we'll be back here for a more sustained analysis on what is going on with our noisy neighbors and exactly where we come in. So thank you very much for your kind attention. Share the link as much as you can. Until we meet later on in the day, ciao. To God be the glory.